Black Star Network is.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Monday, April 17, 2023. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. An Ohio grand jury ruled the 8 officers involved in the shooting death of 25-year-old Jayland Walker last summer will not face charges. We will explain. In Kansas City, Missouri, protesters continue to fill the streets after a black honor student, 16 years old, named Ralph Paul was shot. Ralph Yarl was shot by a white homeowner as he went to the wrong house to pick up his siblings. Family's attorney, Ben Crump, will join us to talk about this unbelievable case. California State Senator introduces a bill to help identify and find missing black people. We will talk to Senator Stephen Bradford right here on the show about his Ebony Alert. Also in Texas, a black woman is sentenced to prison for voting. Tomorrow, her case goes before the Second Court of Appeals in Fort Worth. We'll tell you the latest about Crystal Mason's case with her attorney, Kim Cole. Also, we'll show another story of Texas involving a Texas school district investigating one of its teachers for allegedly making black students portray an enslaved person during class. And white woman calls a black woman the N-word in a supermarket. Let's just say she got her ass whooped. And she actually asked to fight. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky.
No charges for 8 officers in Ohio who fatally shot black motorist Jayland Walker last summer. The 3-man and 6-woman jury, including 2 black panelists, returned no bill against those officers. The panel believed the officers were legally justified in using force against Jayland during the June 27th incident. Cops tried to pull Walker over for an alleged traffic violation, a darkened license plate light. The 8 police officers fired 94 shots at Walker in about 6.7 seconds. Police said Walker fired 1 shot in their direction from his car during the chase. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost announced the grand jury's decision.
Led them on a chase and exited from his vehicle in a ski mask, ignoring multiple commands by officers to show his hands and to stop. As you will hear in more detail from the prosecutors who presented the evidence to the grand jury, a foot pursuit ensued, which officers, still having every reason to believe that Mr. Walker was armed, attempted to use non-lethal tasers to subdue him. Mr. Walker then reached for his waistband in what several officers described as a cross-draw motion, planted his foot, and turned toward the officers while raising his hand. Only then did the officers fire, believing Mr. Walker was firing again at them. Although the officers did not know it at the time, Mr. Walker had left his recently purchased gun in his car. However, there is no doubt that he did, in fact, shoot at police officers. Shell casing from that shot was recovered on the entrance ramp to State Route 8, and ballistics traced that back and matched it to the weapon in Mr. Walker's vehicle. The law allows officers to use deadly force to defend themselves or others against a deadly threat. Now, the Summit County grand jury, people who live there in the community, spent more than a week reviewing the BCI investigation. The grand jury concluded that the officers were legally justified in their use of force. The grand jury just a little while ago issued what is called a no bill, meaning that there will be no state criminal action, no charges at the state level. That does not resolve any potential civil action that might be brought for wrongful death. Now, legal justification does not change the terrible permanent Jayland Walker's death. I grieve the loss of this promising young life, although I recognize that no words of mine can offer much comfort to his family. I do hope they will find some comfort in this. Ohio is unified today in mourning the loss of their son and family member. The body camera footage in this case is especially grievous to watch. Most officer-involved shootings involve an officer or perhaps an officer and a partner. It is unusual, although hardly unprecedented, to have this many officers firing their weapon at the same time at a single subject. The sheer number of shots is one of the things that makes the video so hard to watch. Multiple officers, each making an independent judgment about a threat and acting independently to neutralize that threat, creates a dynamic that amplifies the use of force exponentially. That being said, it is critical to remember that Mr. Walker had fired on the police and that he shot first.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back with my panel. The basic question I have is, again, a traffic stop, a license plate light ends in death. I still want to know, that's why he was stopped? A license plate light? You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, I'm Cupid, the maker of the Cupid Shuffle and the Wham Dance.
What's going on? This is Tobias Trevelyan. And if you're ready, you are listening to and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, welcome back. My panel, Dr. Julian Malvo, Dean, College of Ethnic Studies, California State University, L.A., Dr. Amakongo Dabinga, Senior Professorial Lecturer, School of International Service, American University, Dr. Niambe Carter, Associate Professor, University of Maryland School of Public Policy. Glad to have all three of you here. Makongo, I'll start with you. Again, traffic stop ends in death.
And that's really the headline that
I'm just trying to understand. A traffic stop.
I think that's the headline we always should be starting with, because people always want to go to the extreme cases of how these ended, but we also have to pay more attention to how this has started. And when we look at places like Philadelphia and other cities that have actually put legislation forth and issued other types of edicts to reduce the number of traffic interactions with the cops, because as Renita has said multiple times on this show, it's not about the officers aren't trained, it's about they don't implement their training as it relates to us. And so when we look at this, yes, he shot 46 times, but each officer fired almost 12 times. We're talking about 94 shots that are fired at this man, and these officers, say that they feared for their life. There has to be better type of training when we're putting in these situations, traffic stops, where someone has not demonstrated a clear threat at the outset to these police officers. He didn't come at them with guns blazing. He wasn't out there in the scene trying to commit a robbery or something or attacking somebody else. Traffic stops should not lead to our slaughter. And too many people in the media want to spend more time about the one shot that was fired or talk about how it ended and how they were justified in what they did, as opposed to what they did from the beginning, which was not necessary. And this 25-year-old should still be here today. And those officers should not have a job. Mind you, Roland, they were, had time off, but then they were brought back because of staffing shortages. So at every level, they have never really experienced any consequences for their actions, haven't heard anything about any type of retraining, and now we have another brother gone unnecessarily, like you said, from a traffic stop.
Niambe?
This just brings me back to Dante Wright, and that's all I kept thinking about, because it's something that is pretty minor, and most of the time, by the time the police have engaged you, and at this point with Mr. Walker, where they're chasing him, you've got his tag number. You can write him a ticket and put it in the mail. You can catch up with him later, but it's like keep upping the ante, because at this point you have multiple officers responding to a fairly minor thing. This, again, should have been a desk appearance ticket. This could have been something sent in the mail. How we get to 94 shots fired in less than 7 seconds is something that will never make sense to me. And I don't even know that this is about training or anything, because as the gentleman just said in the package prior, that their training told them this one shot justified every other action that they took after this. So this is not the training not working. This is the training working as devised. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board and rethink how we deploy police for things as minor as a darkened license plate or air freshener in the case of a young Dante Wright. Because yet again, we have a young person who is gone, who was struggling with something, who probably under usual conditions would not have perhaps responded the way he did to police officers, but police officers aren't trained to think about that either. So all of this to me says there is something that we are doing wrong. And it's not just about training. It's just the idea of even pulling someone over for something like this and knowing that the result could be death. And I think that's what's, at least for me, mind-boggling, because there is nothing to say here except that another family is without a loved one this evening.
And so,
and there's nothing we can do.
And Juliana, we know there in some cities, police officers have police chiefs have actually said to cops, stop with the minor traffic stops.
Yep.
I mean, just stop with them. And again, they pull over his 2005 Buick with a broken license plate light. And again, so they said he fired a shot. He fired a shot at officers from his car. He had a gun. Okay, got it. I'm not explaining that away. Okay, I don't believe you fire at officers. There's a car chase, there's a foot chase. But I still go back to the beginning of what took place. A basic traffic stop.
You know, Roland, you're absolutely right. I mean, Yabe made the point. You know, you could, if you see a car that is out of order, they don't have a light on their license plate. They have some air freshener. They've got some, I got stopped the other day. I shouldn't even drive, with some pillows in the back. You know, that you couldn't see through the back because the pills were there. I mean, that's silly. Take the license plate, go to the person's house if you need to, serve the warrant and get it over with. These are minor offenses. Minor. No one should lose their life over a minor offense. And then you have these 8 officers of the law, so-called officers of the law, all of them shooting. What is this? Countdown at the OK Corral? All of them are shooting at the same time. One of them could kneecap him. I mean, if they were that, one of them could have kneecapped him. I mean, we would be mad about that too, but that would not have resulted in loss of life. It's a loss of life piece that's so infuriating. And it's infuriating, Roland, in context of what's been happening in the past several years with young, especially Black men, sometimes Black women, but with young Black people. What I'm concerned about is the level of trauma. Not that just this one young man experienced, but that all of his peers are experiencing. Richard Wright once said there's a lynching in Mississippi, and I feel it in Chicago. What are young Black people feeling when they not only see this young man shot, 46, 96 times?
94 shots were fired at him.
94 shots. That is why we have a slogan that Black Lives Matter. Because shooting at someone for 94 times means you do not think that Black Lives Matter. You just think, there's a Black guy, I'm going to shoot him. I mean, we could talk about the case that happened in Kansas City. I think we're going to talk about it later, but same thing. You see a Black person, you go, but why?
Right.
You see a Black person, you go crazy. It's unacceptable. And Congress ought to do something about the traffic stop thing because, as you're right, Roland, some jurisdictions have done it. Why don't we make this national?
Folks, let's talk about a shooting out of Alabama. The search continues for those responsible for shooting up a Sweet 16 birthday party there in Alabama, leaving 4 dead and 28 injured. 23-year-old Corbin DeMontre Holston, 19 years old. Marcai Emmanuel Collins, 18-year-old. Also, Philstavius Dowdale and 17-year-old Shawnkeivia Nicole Smith, all were killed. One of the surviving victims describes what happened.
I felt that I got shot and I felt the blood gushing down my leg. I grabbed onto somebody, I don't know who, and I was yelling for help. I was still inside the building, yelling at them to help me. And nobody would help me, so I had to gain my strength and walk outside after being shot.
Authorities say they need the community's help finding those responsible for this senseless shooting.
We've got to have information from the community. So if you are at home right now or you know somebody that has any information about what occurred last night, I cannot stress this enough, ever how minor you think it is, we absolutely need you to share it. So again, please reach out to the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, State Bureau of Investigation. That 1-800 number is 1-800-392-8011. 1-800-392-8011. Or you can go online, submit it there, sbi.investigations@alea.gov. That's sbi.investigations@alea.gov. Also, Central Alabama Crime Stoppers has offered a reward for any of the information, so please contact them as well. That Central Alabama Crime Stoppers, that number is 1-833-AL1-STOP, STOP. So we just ask that you continue to be patient with us. Please be patient with us as we go through this process. We're absolutely doing everything we can, and all available resources are being made available.
Shooting took place around 10:30 at night. One of those killed was a star athlete headed to Jacksonville State University. Another was a star musician. And they're still trying to find out exactly what in the hell actually happened. Again, one of the victims, Philstavius Dowdell, was a star high school football player and the brother of the birthday girl, and again, the team chaplain, Keenan Cooper, he actually was DJing at that party. And I mean, my goodness, a Sweet 16, Julian, and now family have to bury 4 loved ones.
So tragic. And again, a very young Sweet 16 party and young folks who were there. Teenagers, the rest of their lives ahead of them. Again, as I was speaking earlier in the previous segment about the trauma. And we don't know who did this and what their motive is, but what we do know is that gun violence is taking too many of our young people out. And again, we don't know the race of the person. We don't know what their motive was. But what we know is that our leaders have failed to do something to constrain the availability of weapons. I mean, here we go again and again and again. We just had Louisville. You know, we had Nashville. These things keep happening, and people keep talking about thoughts and prayers. Well, their parents don't want thoughts and prayers. They want their children back. And if they can't get their children back, they want to know that there are leaders who are doing something other than making mouth noises about what's going on. This is so tragic. And again, I'm just concerned about young people and the trauma they're experiencing.
Well, what happened here, Amakongo, in Alabama, the governor, like in other states, they've signed a law allowing people to get pistols without actually having to have the permit. And so Republicans all across the South are literally increasing the opportunity for people to have guns and no need for a permit. Anybody can just go get one.
That's right. And we're going to see more of it because people are going to have this mentality of, well, if they're not going to do anything about it, I got to protect myself. And we're really living in a day and age, people want to call it the Wild Wild West, but quite honestly, they had more regulations for guns during that time than we do now. When we look at this situation, it's prom season and kids and graduation season that's coming up as well. And these kids are out here celebrating, and this has to happen tragically. When we look at what the governor is doing, when we look at what the leadership is doing, we know what we're going to get from them. This is where our community has to step up. And number one, of course, Roland, this is something that we have to keep in mind as it relates to voting for people later who are going to work to change the gun legislation. But in the moment right now, we have to make sure that in our community that we are speaking up. And if this was a black shooter, people need to be as angry in our community as if it was a white shooter coming in with some MAGA type stuff. It's a different type of anger because it's racism versus something that might come from the community. But we can't just say, oh, well, now they got somebody who's from the hood and just call it a day. We got to stand up for our kids at every single juncture wherever violence is a threat. And you talk about it, Roland, all of the time about the things that so many of us are doing in our community when people saying we aren't fighting gun violence when we are, and gang violence and the like. This has to be another one of those situations. Regardless regardless of who did it, we got to keep the fervor up. If it's in our community, can't have this no snitch mentality. We have to get organized and do more to protect our kids, because clearly our governors and our so-called leaders are not going to put anything in place to protect them for them.
Niamey, about 30 seconds before I got to go to the break. Here's the reality that's crazy here. These Republicans love touting police unions. Guess who's often against these bills allowing anybody to carry guns? Police departments, sheriff's officers. And so these Republicans literally are ignoring law enforcement, but they love screaming, oh, Blue Lives Matter.
Absolutely. And, you know, for things like a simple traffic stop, access to this many weapons by this many people with no type of licensure, registration, education just makes everybody's lives more endangered. And I think Oma Kongo is exactly right. We may not like the criminal justice system. We have no reason to trust it. We have no reason to trust the police. But in this case, it's the only system that we have, whether it works or it doesn't. And we have a bunch of young people who are dead on the streets. And so while we might not like prison and we might not like the criminal justice system we have, this kind of violence in our community, we cannot countenance. So many of us have young people in our lives and family and members. Anybody could have been at that gathering. All of us on this program right now could have been at that gathering and could be not here today because of senseless gun violence. So it needs to be a both and proposition. There needs to be both more common sense sort of gun control in places like Alabama and Tennessee and other places. And we have to also be willing to call out those people in our communities who endanger us all.
Folks, if you're in Alabama and you know what happened, please call the authorities. I don't want to hear that crap about no snitching. 4 black people are dead because of what took place, and those folks responsible need to be caught. When we come back, we'll talk about a shooting in Kansas City that has people all across the country outraged. A 16-year-old black kid simply goes to the wrong house looking to pick up his siblings. He's now fighting for his life with a gunshot wound to the head and to the chest. We'll talk with attorney Ben Crump next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
I lost my daughter. I didn't know where she was. So I had to figure out how to survive, how to eat, how to live. I don't want to go into the details because she's here, first of all. She may not want me telling that story. But possession of her, the family broke down, fell apart. I was homeless. I had to figure out, I didn't have a manager or an agent or anybody anymore, and I'm the talent. So I got to figure out how to be the agent. I had to figure out, how does business work?
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. We look at the history of emancipation around the world, including right here in the United States, the so-called end of slavery. Trust me, it's a history lesson that bears no resemblance to what you learned in school. Professor Chris Manjapra, author, scholar, amazing teacher, joins us to talk about his latest book, Black Ghost of Empire, The Death of Slavery and the Failure of Emancipation. He explains why the end of slavery was no end at all, but instead a collection of laws and policies designed to preserve the status quo of racial oppression.
The real problem is that the problems that slavery invented have continued over time. And what reparations are really about is saying, how do we really transform society, right? And stop racial violence, which is so endemic.
What we need to do about it on the next installment of The Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Hello, everyone. It's Kiara Sheard.
Hey, I'm Taj.
I'm Coco.
And I'm Lily. And we're SWV.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Folks, protesters from around, protesters in Kansas City, folks, have repeatedly gone to a neighborhood where a black honor student and talented musician Paul Yarl was shot by a white homeowner as he went to the wrong house to pick up his siblings. Protests surrounding the event included several hundred individuals demanding the homeowner be charged and signs stating ringing a doorbell is not a crime and the shooter should do time. Again, the 16-year-old has been hospitalized. Social media, they posted photos of him on social media in the hospital there as he is fighting to survive. He was trying to collect his younger twin brothers from their friend's home. This took place on Thursday when he rang the doorbell of the wrong house and unknowingly went to the incorrect address, Northeast 115th Street instead of Northeast 115th Terrace. The white homeowner in his 80s, according to the Kansas City Defender, officially injured Yarl. He shot Yarl once in the head as they opened the door, and again in the chest when Yarl was on the ground. Yarl searched for help from 3 neighbors who refused to open the door until one opened the door, but only helped after Yarl was told to put his hands up and lay face down. That's when he lost consciousness. The homeowner who shot Yarl, his identity has not been made public, but admitted to the shooting and was taken into custody and placed on a 24-hour investigative hold. Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves explains why the white man was released.
On April 13th, just before 10 o'clock p.m., officers were called to a residence where a teen was shot in front of the residence by a homeowner. The teen was transported to a local hospital for his injuries. The homeowner was taken into custody and placed on a 24-hour investigative hold. Detectives and crime scene personnel immediately responded, processed the scene, and recovered the firearm. After consulting with the Clay County Prosecutor's Office, the homeowner was released pending further investigation due to the need to obtain a formal statement from the victim, forensic evidence, and compile additional information for a case file to be presented. A formal statement is planned and forthcoming as a teen's injuries allow. A person can be held up for 24 hours for investigation of a felony, at which time they're required by Missouri law to be charged or released. The vast majority of cases, to include violent crime, involve the suspect being released pending further investigation. In this case, the prosecutor requires more information from investigators that would take more than 24 hours to compile. Throughout the weekend, investigators have worked to gather requested information and details. They have been in touch with the prosecutors. As soon as the case is complete, it will be presented to the Clay County prosecutors for their review. We recognize the frustration this can cause in the entire criminal justice process. The women and men of the Kansas City Police Department are working as expeditiously and as thoroughly as we can to ensure the criminal justice process continues to advance as quickly as all involved and our community deserve. Detectives have been working over the past several days to compile a detailed case file so they have all the information they need to make the best charging decision on the case moving forward. We want the community to know that we are committed to justice in this case and every case, and work every day to seek that justice for all victims of all crimes. Investigators have been in touch with the family of the victim in this case and updated them on the status of the investigation and the process moving forward. I want everyone to know that I'm listening and I understand the concern that we are receiving from the community.
Really? This breaking news. They've now charged this man. His name is Andrew Lester. Go to my iPad, please. The Clay County Prosecutor's Office, they filed 2 criminal charges against him. His name is Andrew Lester. He was charged with 1 count of felony assault in the first degree and 1 count of armed criminal action. Joining us right now is the attorney for the Yarl family, attorney Ben Crump. Ben, there is no way in hell you can remotely convince me that a black man shoots a white kid in the head and while he's laying down, shoots him in the chest and, oh, yeah, we'll bring him in and then he walks free. There is no way that happens. The only reason this man is charged today is because this story has gone national and folks have been protesting in that neighborhood.
You're absolutely correct, Roland Martin. It was the national outrage, the advocacy on Attorney Merritt and our legal teams like bombarding the prosecutor, having people call them and say, how is it acceptable that a black 17-year-old presses the doorbell and the white owner of the home shoot him in the head and then shoots him a second time, as you said, Roland, while he's on the ground and had his arm not been there, we might not be talking about a miracle that saved Ralph Yarl's life. And so this is asinine for them to even hold it for this long, because it could have been a FedEx worker, or Amazon worker, Roland, and they simply go press the doorbell and their profile and shot in the head because a white person feels threatened. Because, you know, they always talk about stand your ground and castle doctrine. And the final point I think is germane here, Roland Martin, is it harkens back to Trayvon, where his killer got to sleep in his bed at night. And even closer to present, Ahmaud Arbery, where they saw the video. The police saw the video and still accepted the white shooter's word for it and let them go home and sleep in their beds. So we know it's nothing new. What they're doing is two justice systems in America, one for black America and another for white America.
Ben, this reminds me of the case out of Michigan, 2014, where a 14-year-old Brennan Walker was shot by Jeffrey Ziegler, a retired firefighter, after Walker missed the bus and knocked on Ziegler's door. Ziegler only received 10 years in prison for assault with an attempt to commit murder. They actually, earlier this year, granted him parole from prison. Again, this is, so these folks, again, no threat. It's not like Yarl, or even in the case with Ziegler, he wasn't sitting here trying to steal anything. These folks come out of their house, shoot first. And you saw the video we're playing right there, where Ziegler comes out with a shotgun, and it's only because that kid is only alive. Brennan Walker is only alive because he took off running. This guy fires his gun at him down the street. And in this case involving Yarl, he's just at the door. No threat whatsoever. This guy fire first, ask questions later.
Yeah. And you hit it right on the point, Roland Martin. We've been talking about this conversation now for 20 years because you always cover these matters. And I love how you remind us of the historical nature of it, since they're trying to outlaw teaching black history in the schools. We got to have programs that remind us about the past black history and the not so past black history, because all of it is relevant. Because if we forget about Trayvon, we forget about Ahmaud Arbery, we forget about Ziegler shooting at that young man in Michigan, then they act like, well, this is novel. This is something new, and we can justify this Andrew Lester shooting 16-year-old Ralph Yarl in the head because he felt in fear of his life. No, that was the impetus for Black Lives Matter when they said it with Trayvon Martin and got away with it. And so we can never let them get away with this again.
And of course, Ben, to listen to the police chief say, oh, we had to wait to get a statement from the victim. He was almost killed.
Yeah. And Roland, what's so asinine about that is if he would have died, are you telling me you could have not arrested the shooter because you couldn't take a statement from him? It's ludicrous. They want us to believe that, well, I can't say what they want us to believe, Roland, but it is asinine.
Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. And again, these things, they happen over and over and over again. Ben, the GoFundMe originally was $750,000. It raised to $1.5 million. They've already raised about $1.3 million. You've talked with the family and just, so what's the latest on Yarl's condition?
You know, Roland, we just talked to President Biden less than 35 minutes ago, right before the DA came and announced his charges. And, you know, obviously he's going to miss a lot of time from school, but this is a brilliant young man. I mean, just even though he's talking slow, just to hear him interact with President Biden, you can tell that this young man is a miracle. He's an honor roll student at the top of his class. He plays the clarinet. He wants to be a computer engineer, engineer, a mechanical engineer, and he has his whole future ahead of him. It was nothing but the grace of God how this young man is living after being shot in the head. And so it was appropriate for the prosecutor to charge him. And the only tragedy was that it took so long for them to charge him. But keep him in your prayers. He's not out the woods yet. And we know his medical bills are going to be astronomical.
Again, so you're saying about 40 minutes ago, President Biden, he did talk to Ralph Yarl and his family, and Ralph is able to talk?
Ralph was able to talk and try to answer his questions best he could, but even in a slow, slurred voice, you heard how brilliant Ralph Yarl was. He is an exceptional young person.
All right. And so, Ben, first of all, that phone call, how long was the phone call with President Biden?
About 20 to 25 minutes. And so you're getting breaking news because I don't even know if the White House has put it out yet that President Biden talked to him, his mother, his aunt, and Ralph, and there other people were in the room.
And so the president phoned the family, talked with Ralph Yarl and his family for about 20 to 25 minutes today. That was about 40 or so minutes ago. And Ralph was able to communicate with the president.
He was. He called my cell phone, and I then passed them through to the family. And he said when Ralph gets well and everything, he welcomes him to visit the White House.
Okay. Ben Crump, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much with that latest news.
Hey, love you, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Ben. Thanks a lot. Folks, got to go to a break. We'll talk more of this when we come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. See, this is why you need to watch what we do here. Folks, we don't take a back seat to any other network, be it CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS. So we have the top guest as well, getting the latest information that's important for our community. And so that's why we need you to support us in what we do. Download our app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. I'm literally depositing checks and money orders as I'm sitting here on the set, send check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. We're seeing it every day. Bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million. You can also download your copy on Audible. We'll be right back.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Dexter Jenkins is a faith-based financial mentor with more than 20 years in the financial services industry. He's passionate about helping families build generational wealth.
Even though I'm talking about things like prayer, I'm talking about things about reading the word, I'm talking about things like fellowship, I'm talking to members who are dealing with losing their houses, or I'm talking to members who, because of a lack of the handling their finances, they're working 2 and 3 jobs. And so what I'm finding is that they're not coming to church because they don't have a handle on their finances.
We're talking how to get wealthy through faith and our finances on the next Get Wealthy right here, only on Black Star Network.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. It's spring, hallelujah. But hold on, it's not all fun and games. With the sun and the warmth comes the need to clean, the clutter, mentally, physically, emotionally, socially. All of those things need to happen. Getting rid of the clutter and clearing the cobwebs in our head and in our home. That's next on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
You want me to do something crazy, but I don't know what to do. I'd rather just sit here.
Hi, this is Cheryl Lee Ralph, and you are watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered. I mean, could it be any other way? Really? It's Roland Martin.
Let's go to my panel about this case. Just a sad and sickening, Niambi. And again, a kid just make an innocent mistake and almost loses his damn life.
Absolutely. And I don't know how you sustain any kind of self-defense claim against a person that you had no words with, didn't speak to, simply rang your doorbell, and you shoot them through the door. And then you're supposed to be afraid and you go outside where the danger is allegedly and shoot again. There is nothing here that says that this man was fearful of anything other than seeing a Black child on his doorstep. And you know, we already age Black children and say that they're older than they are. And the only offense that this young man committed was being Black at the wrong door. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting. It's outrageous.
Omakongo.
You know, Dr. King spoke about this whole concept of thingification. And when you can thingify a people and just turn them into objects, you basically feel justified doing anything to them, from enslavement to Jim Crow to denying them all types of rights. And when we see what's happening with these types of shootings, and remember, like Crump said, this is more George Zimmerman type than any of these other ones, because these are not officers of the law. These are people who feel like they can just take their matters into their own hands and do whatever they want with us and to us. And I hope another charge that is there, that is added, is endangering the life of the life of a minor, because the child was 16 years old. And so we also have to be mindful of the fact that when we see this situation and we see that multiracial, multicultural, multi-generational output of love and support, it's heart-wrenching for me, because when I see this situation, having my own children as well, every single day we're putting ourselves in situations where we just don't know what's going to happen. And the last thing I want to say, Roland, is that I am also already suspicious of this Kansas City Police Department, because one of the things that they said was that they were waiting to collect a statement from him, but his aunt said that they collected a statement from him on Friday. He was able to speak in some way, shape, or form. So they had some form of statement from him already in terms of recounting what happened. And so that, what she said, was not actually accurate. And like Crump said, if he was dead, that means he would have just been home chilling. Remember, it took us forever to get Zimmerman arrested. And so we would have had a similar process if it wasn't for this initial uproar that was nonstop. And so I commend Black Star Network and everybody out there who was a part of that. But this is what we have to do every day to demand justice for people that look like us, because we've been thingified for so long, and we got to stop it.
Julian?
Yeah, I'm horrified. I think we all are horrified by this. And the thing about the quote mistake, it was a mistake. The young man made a mistake, but it was such an understandable mistake. He went to the same address on the 115th Street as opposed to 115th Terrace. That man must have had people come to his house before in situations like that. Did he shoot them all? And he said, someone said he saw a black shadow, and so he shot. This is absurd, and it's nothing but racism. There ought to be a hate crime enhancement on this thing, and there ought to, as Omakongo said, endangering the life of a child. But again, Black boys and girls are not seen as children when they're past 8 years old. They're suddenly seen as adults. But again, I will go back to, seems like I'm talking about it a lot today, but the trauma that other young Black people are feeling when this is inculcated, when they watch this. I'm so happy to see this multiracial crowd out there protesting. I think that's very heartwarming. But I abhor that police chief. I mean, she just needed to sit down when she said she's listening. Really? Was she listening? That milquetoast nonsense really just, people think women police chiefs are going to be more compassionate. Not. if they wear the blue, you better watch out. That's all I have to say. I was ashamed to watch her.
Well, I tell you, and it's great. First of all, in the earlier stories, Niambi, they talked about how these neighbors, how they look out for one another and protect one another. And that's what really pissed a lot of people off. And that's why those protesters showed up, letting those neighbors know, oh, y'all think we're going to be quiet? No. So they have been there nonstop Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this story really percolated in the news Saturday and Sunday, thanks as a result of the good work of the Kansas City Defender. In fact, folks, if y'all can get that editor on the phone, it'd be great.
For sure. I mean, yes, absolutely. And I think they should be out there. I mean, the fact that this young boy had to run, fearing for his life, and go to multiple homes trying to seek the most basic care just for someone to call 911, to call an ambulance to help save his life. And he is told to get on the ground like a criminal. He's done nothing. And what's even scary is the fact that the margin for error for our children, for our young people, for us as a community is so small, because I had one of those addresses where it was place on one street and street on the other, the exact same addresses. And that could have happened and has happened so many times. And never once did I think to go outside of my home or shoot through the door for someone deigning to ring my doorbell. So I think these neighbors are as culpable, because all of us have neighbors. We can all look out for each other. But to see a bloody child who is literally running for their life, and they have to lay in the dirt where they pass out just for someone to give them the most basic aid is disgusting. And I think those people showing up, those people shouldn't have any peace. They should be troubled at night. They should be troubled that the police chief let that man back out on the street within a day after shooting a child. They should be horrified. They, the neighbors, should have been on the street, not just other members of that community. It is gross. It is negligent. It is abhorrent. It is dangerous. It is so many things. And I think to Dr. Malveau's point about the trauma, just talking about this, hearing about this, seeing this over and over again, having to say, and he's a smart kid, he's a good kid. I mean, just to even have to say that so that our children get the most basic measure of humanity is exhausting. It's overwhelming for all of us. I mean, it's like, how many more times do we have to hear something like this to get the most basic humanity ascribed to us? I mean, it's just, it's so much.
Congo.
Right. I mean, they, honor student, taking care of his brothers, committed to the community, award winning, has goals to be in engineering and the like. And we're reminded once again that when it comes to Blackness, it doesn't matter what the qualifications are. He could have been a hardened criminal or the honor student that he was. The treatment is the same. I once saw somebody on Twitter say that when your skin is literally viewed as a weapon in society, you can never be unarmed. And so just the skin that he's in makes him a threat to so many people in this country unnecessarily. And this adultification, when we look at our babies as adults, means that they're going to get treated like this as well. And whether we're talking, and it doesn't even matter, Roland, it could be a stand your ground state, not a stand your ground state. He can have a weapon, not have a weapon. It doesn't matter. The result is the same. Thingify it, feel that you can do whatever you want. But in this situation, he got arrested, but we can't take our foot off the gas right now. We need to make sure that he and his family get everything that they need, and this man gets prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We got to keep our eyes on this Kansas City Police Department and these prosecutors as well.
Indeed. Got to go to a break, folks. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, folks. We should easily be over 1,000 likes. We should be, frankly, at 2,000 by now. And don't forget, support us in what we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Folks, you give during the show, I'll give you a shout out right here. Checking money orders, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Hey, I'm Deion Cole from Blackish.
Hey, I'm Arnez J. Black TV does matter, dang it.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Jacob Lattimore, and you're now watching Roland Martin right now.
Stay woke.
Escambia County, Florida authorities need your help in finding 13-year-old Deanna Dunlap. Deanna was last seen Monday, April 10th. She is 5 feet 3 inches tall, weighs 75 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about Deanna Dunlap should call the Escambia County, Florida Sheriff's Office at 850-438-9620, 850-436-9620. Now, every day on this show, we feature a missing black person because we know mainstream white media does not report missing black folks like they do when somebody white comes up missing. Studies show that black children make up to 38% of missing youths nationwide. California Senator Stephen Bradford is proposing a bill to alert the public about missing black women and children whose cases are disproportionately underreported. He joins us now to talk about the Ebony Alert system from Sacramento. Representative Bradford, always glad to see you. And so walk us through your rationale for this Ebony Alert. We know about the Amber Alert. That came about from a case out of Arlington, Texas, where a young lady, of course, died. And that system, of course, is now nationwide. And so over the weekend, I got an Amber Alert here in Virginia. But we know oftentimes when that child is black, there's never an Amber Alert that goes out.
Without a doubt. And that's so critical. And I think just as you described, the data clearly supports the fact that African-American young girls and women are ignored when it comes to the media and law enforcement resources in looking for these individuals. These young African-American girls are often listed as runaways versus their white counterparts who are listed as abducted or missing. And even for them a little older, over 18, many times, I should say the young girls as well, under 18, are listed as juvenile prostitutes when they're being trafficked in the same manner as their white counterparts. So I think it's a shame that we need to have separate alerts, but we clearly know right now in America that when you're African American, the same level of attention and resources are not dedicated and directed toward helping find these individuals.
In terms of California, what do the stats look like in terms of black kids, black youth, or black women that come up missing, and then how oftentimes there actually are alerts?
It pretty much follows the nation's average. I mean, again, about 36% of those individuals who are missing are African American. And I don't have the exact percentage of those who are found, but I can tell you right now, there are 3 young girls who have been missing for a couple of weeks now in Oakland. And I have yet to see not one Amber Alert or any news clippings or anything about those. I'm learning this from firsthand from people in the community who are making us aware of that. So I think the data pretty much follows the nation's average, where Black and young ladies are not being reported as missing, or Amber Alerts are not even issued for them. So we think it's critical right now that we come up with our own Ebony Alert to help find these individuals and bring them home safely.
Questions from our panelists. Juliana, I'll start with you.
Representative, how you doing? It's good to see you.
How you doing? Likewise.
I'm great. It's always good to see you. I'm concerned. It kind of goes with our last segment. People don't treat our young people as people. They treat them as if they're adults and as if they're monsters. And we always want to qualify, Roland. We would say, this young man that we were talking about last segment, he was bright, da, da, da. What if he wasn't bright? It kind of really doesn't matter. He's a person missing. So when you talk about this Ebony Alert, how will it be triggered? Will it be that, let's say, parents will say, my daughter has been missing for 2 days, and there will be a structure to do it? Because we haven't been plugged into the Amber Alert, and I know personally of 2 or 3 cases where parents have gone to the police, and the police say, oh, well, maybe they'll be back tomorrow. 3 days later, maybe they'll be back tomorrow. So help us structure it. What will happen? My daughter's missing. What do I do?
You call law enforcement, and if it works the way we intended, if you're between the ages of 12 to 25, if you're have some kind of physical challenge or mental challenge, if you're suspected of being abducted or being sex trafficked, the Ebony Alert will be sounded and initiated in the same manner as the Amber Alert. So or even if a parent says, I know my child is in immediate harm or some possible abduction, that would trigger the Ebony Alert.
Thanks.
Niambi.
So thank you for this bill, Senator Bradford. I have a question similar to Dr. Malveau's, which is, how do you take the, I guess, arbitrariness out of this? Because it seems like police officers have a lot of discretion about deciding who's a runaway and who's not, and they more often than not ascribe the category of running away to missing children and young adults in our communities. So is there more training or something like that to better educate officers to know when to trigger something like this Ebony Alert so that our children aren't classified firsthand as runaways?
We're suggesting training, but it's a shame that when it comes to looking for us or doing anything with African Americans, you always need additional training. But you don't need training to go find, again, our white counterparts, our Asian counterparts. So that is something that we have been discussing, but it's a shame that you have to train somebody to do the same thing that they're doing on the natural for other racial groups. So those are probably part of the negotiations as this bill moves forward.
Thank you.
Makongo?
Senator Bradford, I think that this is such an amazing idea and concept, and I'm really hopeful that this will go as far as it could possibly go. I was wondering if you had any concern about the backlash in our society, with all of this fake activism over critical race theory and the like, that there can be an opposite effect where people might see an Ebony Alert and the police may, even though in a state like California, liberal and everything like that, police might be inclined to do actually less because they're seeing an Ebony Alert attached to some of these cases. Has that been a concern for you?
I hope that's not the case, but we've all considered all kind of scenarios. I mean, we've already heard some pushback from some groups saying, why is this necessary? It's racist. It's all those things that we're hearing in this country over the last 4 or 5 years when it comes to identifying issues that are impacting us. It's a shame that we continue to have to assert ourselves like this, be it Black Lives Matter, I am a woman, I am a man. I mean, these are all mantras and tags that African Americans have had to put out there to let folks say, recognize us, see us, because far too often we are ignored. But yeah, I'm hoping we won't have the backlash, but a case in point of how important this is, it was a parody on Saturday Night Live on Weekend Update this past weekend when they talked about the bill and they described it, and it says, if you're white, this is news. For us, it requires every other.
Wow.
Well, that is absolutely the case. Have you gotten any co-sponsors yet? How's it gaining traction there in California?
Oh, yes, we're getting tremendous co-sponsors. The chair of public safety is a co-sponsor of the bill. We're getting a lot of support. I'm excited about where we stand right now. I mean, it's going to go before public safety tomorrow, and we're pretty sure, it's not pretty sure, we know we have the votes to get out of that committee. So, and then once it leaves there, we're going to go on to appropriations and then to the Senate floor. So hopefully we'll get it to both houses and to the governor's desk before this session's over.
And when is the session over?
In September. But this bill can get there much earlier than that.
Well, this is a perfect example for all those people who suggest that there's no such thing as systemic racism, even when it comes to the notification of somebody missing. It exists.
It does. And again, as the data has shown, but in so many ways, I mean, and just how Black kids and are treated so different. And case in point, this weekend at the basketball game, DeMar DeRozan, his little 9-year-old daughter was cheering and making noise on the opposing team, making free throws. And she got threatened. She got physically threatened to the point where they had to walk her out of the arena with a security detail. Who threatens a 9-year-old when I've seen plenty kids at basketball games making all kind of noise when somebody's making a free throw and they didn't have to get escorted by security to leave the arena. So we're just treated differently in this country.
Indeed, indeed. Senator, just letting you know, so last year when I was in Los Angeles for the George Lopez golf tournament, you invited me out to the Diamond League Jazz Festival. I ran into Julian there as well. And so they reached out to me to be the stage co-host this year, along with Bill Bellamy. Folks, pull the graphic up. So I will be there. California State University, Dominguez Hills, April 29th. Layla Hathaway is going to be the headliner. Marcus Miller's performing there as well. And so if y'all want information, go to csudh.edu. And so to the folks in the Los Angeles area, we will be there. So, Senator, I'm quite sure I'll run into you there while I'm working this time.
I will be there, and Legislative Black Caucus will be there in numbers too. We're one of the sponsors, and I'm glad you enjoyed it so much that they are bringing you back this year to be a co-host. So I'm excited about it.
Well, Layla's a homegirl, so look forward to seeing her and Bill Bellamy as well. And so I look forward to seeing you as well. And let me know when you're ready where I can take some of your money on the golf course. Just let me know.
Are you gonna perform like you did last year with Kirk Whalen? Are you gonna sing this time?
No. I'm not gonna sing. I only do that with Kirk when he calls me up on stage. I only do that when that happens. So that's my homeboy. All right.
All right, and I gotta go work on my golf game.
Yeah, yeah. Go hit the range. I appreciate it.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm ready. All right. Thanks a bunch.
I ain't scared.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You know, y'all always scared of alphas. Oh, you knew that was coming. All right, Senator, thanks a lot. Yeah, there you go. Go on with that little blue 5 stuff. Yeah, okay.
All right.
That's a cute little group. All right, Senator, thanks a lot. All right, y'all, got to go to a break. We'll be back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. We'll show you what happens if you white and you call a couple sisters the N-word in the grocery store. Hashtag Team Whip That Ass will show up. Got that video. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Matter of fact, and a white woman was with her brother. When her sisters rolled out and told him what happened, he was like, I'm out. The video is hilarious. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
I lost my daughter. I didn't know where she was. So I had to figure out how to survive, how to eat, how to live. I don't want to go into the details because she's here, first of all. She may not want me telling that story. But possession of her, the family broke down, fell apart. I was homeless. I had to figure out, I didn't have a manager or an agent or anybody anymore, and I'm the talent. So I got to figure out how to be the agent. I had to figure out, how does business work?
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. It's spring, hallelujah. But hold on, it's not all fun and games. With the sun and the warmth comes the need to clean, the clutter, mentally, physically, emotionally, socially. All of those things need to happen. Getting rid of the clutter and clearing the cobwebs in our head and in our home. That's next on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Godfrey, the funniest dude on the planet.
Hi, I'm Israel Houghton. Apparently, the other message I did was not fun enough. So this is fun. You are watching
Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
A Florida grandfather is back in prison for a crime a judge ruled he had been wrongfully convicted of. 65-year-old Crosley Green, who already spent nearly half of his life in prison for a murder he says he did not commit, said his goodbyes to his family before walking back into prison today. Green, who was found guilty of murder in 1990 and sentenced to death, had his conviction overturned in 2018. Prosecutors fought the ruling, which imprisoned Green for several more years. In 2021, Green was granted a provisional release after his lawyers cited health concerns during the pandemic. On April 7, 2021, he left the Calhoun Correctional Institute outside of Tallahassee, Florida. The state of Florida appealed that decision. That led to Green's release he won last year. His conviction was then reinstated. The problem in this case, Omakongo, is that literally there are no more appeals. Unless he is pardoned, he is going to spend the rest of his life in prison, even though the judge ruled that the prosecutors withheld information, but the appellate folks ruled, oh, that wasn't enough to overturn this case. I did a video last week, Omakongo, where I tried to explain to all of these brothers, and you got some old dumbasses out there, I'm not even gonna give them any attention by even naming them, but they know who they are, who did videos and, oh, Roland Martin, there he is. He's sitting here celebrating, caping for the Democrats, and this is why black men are leaving the Democratic Party. To that dumbass who did a video, this is a black man who is 65, who's been out of prison for 2 years. And you stupid asses who are so stuck up on D and R, donkey and elephant, y'all are so stupid. I'm calling some of y'all stuck on stupid, who are so caught up in this whole notion of, oh, I ain't sitting here caping for the Democrats, when you have these conservative Republican judges who don't care about humanity, and then people like Governor Ron DeSantis, who, if he had any compassion, would say, this guy shouldn't be in prison. No, they would rather him go back to prison to spend the rest of his life there and say, forget about him.
Yep, and this is going to be part of their tough on crime, law and order stance that they're always taking. And like you said, it doesn't matter about DNR. Remember, Bill Clinton went to attend a man's execution. So we can see it on both sides of the aisle. And with Ron DeSantis, who would never let this person out, and this is just another travesty of justice, which we've been talking about throughout the show. We had people who recanted what they told about Green. We had so many problems that we're talking about. The getaway car was a stick shift. Green didn't know how to drive it. The lineup that was used, they enlarged his photo and made it darker, which we know that was going to lead to him looking more like a criminal. There were issues with footprints. There were so many different levels of this man being completely innocent. Even the officers and first responders said that they didn't believe that he was the person responsible. Every single day, we see these Republicans and these judges who have an opportunity to show a little bit of humanity and a little bit of respect for human life when it comes to black people, and they deny that opportunity. And in a place like Florida, this is going to be something that Ron DeSantis is going to use to promote his tough on stance crime. He's going to fundraise off of this. While meanwhile, a man who took an opportunity to get his life together after losing 30 years of it, got engaged, has a woman who's supportive and a family, is going back to rot. This is backwards. And this is another example. I hope whoever made that video you're talking about also needs to be mindful of the fact that elections matter, because under a different governor, we probably would get some form of clemency.
Well, they don't care, Julian. And here's the deal. A federal judge ruled that he had to go back to prison. Here's what happened. This was a state conviction. The state won the appellate decision. Crosley's attorneys appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, let me say it again to all you stuck on stupid idiots, this conservative U.S. Supreme Court, 6-3 conservatives, refused to decline to hear his case, so he has to head back to prison. President Biden cannot pardon him because he was not convicted on the federal level. The only way this man can get out of prison if he gets a pardon from the governor of Florida, and we damn sure know that ain't happening. So again, Julian, for all of these idiots who love making these videos, and Democrats this and Democrat that, and you caping, let me say it again. Judges that were appointed, judges that were elected are the ones involved in this case. And here, a Republican governor could do something, but we know he won't. But you got these idiots who love making videos about me. They can't actually cover news. They wanted to talk about what I talk about. And so all you black men who cape for these idiotic right-wing judges, it could be your ass one day.
And it ought to be their ass one day. Oh, excuse my language. But it ought to be their behind one day because, quite frankly, these folks, as you say, not only are they stuck on stupid, but they're stuck on whiteness. They're really stuck on whiteness. I mean, DNR doesn't really matter. But, Roland, you're profoundly fair. So for them to talk about you, what is the word they use? You know, I'm old. I can't think about it.
Oh, you caping, you shilling, you in the pocket of the Democrats.
Well, that's BS. That's just nonsense, and it's beyond nonsense. But this case is so heartbreaking. This man's 65 years old. I don't care what he did. First of all, it's clear that there is enough reasonable doubt. He doesn't know how to drive a stick. There's enough reasonable doubt that even if he did it, which we know he didn't, but if 30 years in jail, go on and live your life, boo. Just go live your life. It's nonsense to have this man at 65 years old going back to prison. And you know that he probably has health issues because he's been in prison all that time. You know they're not going to know how to take care of him. They're not going to know how to feed him. If he goes back to prison, they're basically shortening his life. You're rolling the point about elections have consequences. And a lot of people, I remember 2016 when the baby feminists, they couldn't vote for Hillary because they didn't like her. She had an attitude. Now the same people who are mad at Hillary, if they want an abortion, oh well. And those of us older people, like one of the young ladies approached me, she said, after the fact, what are we going to do with our abortion rights? I said, that train has left the station for me. I'm out of that. If you chose to vote for the orange man, you got what you got. And that's the same with these brothers with these videos. They don't know. It could be them. It could be their daddy. It could be their nephew. We have to really be very strategic. Politics is not a popularity contest. I don't care if you like somebody or not. What you have to look at is the public policy that they're advocating. And again, I just say that what's going on with this brother is beyond criminal. It's depraved to send a 65-year-old man back to jail after he basically been exonerated.
Well, Niambe, what kills me with these idiots who love making their videos and love making their comments on these various channels is they're stupid. I mean, they love going, Biden ain't done this, Biden ain't done that. This is very basic. Donald Trump, Department of Justice, Jeff Sessions, they tried to remove the consent decree in Baltimore governing the police department. For all you idiots posting your videos, that's the same department that killed Freddie Gray.
Come on.
And they were not held accountable. So what did they do? They attacked Marilyn Mosby to get her out because she dared prosecute them. This is the same Trump Department of Justice where they said, let's pull back consent decrees in Chicago. Where Bill Barr, who replaced Jeff Sessions, they said, this is just hurting the morale of cops. You have seen, and I dare any of you Simple Simons out there making your videos, I dare you Simple Simons to compare the Trump Department of Justice to the Biden Department of Justice and show me the comparison of the number of police officers who have been convicted and sent to prison, the number of correctional officers, wardens convicted and sent to prison, the number of hate crimes being prosecuted. So for y'all sitting here saying, oh, I can't stand Biden, crime bill Biden. I know what the hell he did in the 90s, but I'm telling you right now, for all you folks, man, you were caping for Hillary. Hell yeah. I wanted Hillary Clinton over that damn Donald Trump. You damn right I wanted Joe Biden over Donald Trump. The facts are clear, Niambi, and anybody who wants to deny it, you are choosing to be stupid. Now make that video, you punk asses.
Well, people like to be provocative. People like to be contrarian, and I think for some people it's edgy to say the thing that they think is unpopular, right? Because they don't want to be like everyone else. But I think to your point, Roland, we gave Donald Trump 3 Supreme Court picks, and those same Supreme Court picks denied this man a chance, right? Because we know, for the reasons you laid out, there is not going to be any kind of clemency or anything forthcoming out of the state of Florida from Ron DeSantis. And so this man, who is a grandfather, who's put his life back together as best he could, given the stuff he's been handed, is now going back to prison. I don't know that any of us could imagine something as cruel as being let out of prison only to go back, only to have so many people say that this did not happen the way that the police and others officially said it happened, to then have to deliver yourself back to this hellhole. And Dr. Malveaux is right. We don't talk about enough what it means to age in prison and the way that prison takes life out of people. And it's not just being confined. It's the lack of medical care. It's the lack of dental care. It's the lack of mental health services. It's the lack of the inability to be able to touch other people in a loving and caring way. All people need the same basic things. And to see a man like Crosley Green and so many other people who are caught up in a penal system like the one we see here in Florida, but in so many other places around this country, this is a gut punch. And as you all noted, I won't beat the dead horse, but this is what happens when you vote thinking about the dumbest, smallest, most basic thing, and not thinking about these longer term consequences, because there is nothing we're going to get for Crosley Green, unfortunately, for a very long time. And if Governor DeSantis has his way, then most of the people who would be inclined to elect a different governor, elect a different legislature, are going to be disabled, left out, and disenfranchised from the political system. You saw what they did with those who were formerly incarcerated felons in the reinstatement of their voting rights, and how quickly they turned tail on that. So we know that the odds are stacked against Mr. Crosley Green and his family. Right. And I mean, you know, people like you are important because we would not know his name.
So let me be real clear here, and this is for all the Simple Simons. Let me be real clear with all you Simple Simons who love making your comments and making your videos. I dare any of you to check the facts. I can tell you right now, there ain't no way in hell I will remotely consider Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Tim Scott for president next year.
Hello.
You know why? Because there's no way in hell I'm going to stand with a party that continues, and we're discussing it next, trying to put Crystal Mason in prison for voting when her own parole officer said she wasn't aware she couldn't vote. Do you actually think I'm going to support a party that expelled Justin Jones and Justin Pearson out of the Tennessee House? Do you think I'm going to support a party that gave millions to Brett Favre in Mississippi and not the poor in that state? Do you even remotely think I'm going to support a party that has Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick in Texas, where these fools don't do anything about gun control after kids were shot and killed in Uvalde? Do you remotely think I'm going to stand with a party that pushed an election lie like that fool Kerry Lake and others in Arizona? Do you actually think I'm going to stand with a party that outlawed ballot drop boxes and wanted to throw people in jail for handing out water in Georgia? Do you actually think I'm going to stand with a party that elected Sarah Huckabee Sanders as their governor in Arkansas, knowing she's dumb as hell? Do you actually think I'm going to stand with a party in Louisiana where Republicans want to outlaw the discussion of racism in all of the state universities, in one of the racist states in the history of the United States? Do you actually think I'm going to stand with a party in South Carolina that continues to diminish African Americans and when Moms of Liberty took over school boards? Do you actually think for a second I'm going to stand with a party where the Attorney General in Iowa announced they're not going to provide the abortion pill to women who have been raped in Iowa? Yes, raped. Do you actually think I am going to stand with a party that won't even have an exception for rape and incest? Do you actually think I'm going to stand with a party where you've got a Republican in Kentucky who has no problem with 12-year-olds getting married? Do you actually think I'm going to stand with any of these thugs that continue to stand with Donald Trump? So you can sit here and say, oh, you caping for Democrats, you're a shield. I'm not stupid like you are. There are two choices. You can holler and scream, a third party. You can holler and scream, oh my goodness, we need to have our own. Here's what I know. Come 2024, Republicans or Democrats are going to control the United States House. Republicans or Democrats will control the United States Senate. Do you know who covers impeachment of Supreme Court justices? The House. That's why they will do nothing about Clarence Thomas, even though we know doggone well he has been in absolute violation of the rules when it comes to disclosures. We know damn well the Senate, if Republicans have that, they are going to confirm hardcore right-wing federal judges who do not believe in civil rights, who do not believe in diversity of this country. That's who they're going to pick. And so, if you think I'm confused, no, I'm not confused. I'm smart enough to know I can look at the data and look at the information and then look at the policies and go, who do I stand a better chance of advancing a black agenda with? Oh, let me be real clear. You've never, ever heard me call Democrats perfect. You've never criticized them. Oh, I have absolutely been in their faces, giving them hell, calling out white consultants, calling out Democrats who don't do the right thing, calling out Joe Biden when he has not done enough. But don't you think for a second that I will piss on my ancestors and that I will blow off my 9 nieces and 4 nephews and their future by supporting a party that is fascist, a party that wants to have a dictator. And if you don't like anything that I said, in the words of Della Reese from Harlem Nights, kiss my entire ass. I'll be right back.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Dexter Jenkins is a faith-based financial mentor with more than 20 years in the financial services industry. He's passionate about helping families build generational wealth.
Even though I'm talking about things like prayer, I'm talking about things about reading the word, I'm talking about things like fellowship, I'm talking to members who are dealing with losing their houses, or I'm talking to members who, because of a lack of the handling their finances, they're working 2 and 3 jobs. And so what I'm finding is that they're not coming to church because they don't have a handle on their finances.
We're talking how to get wealthy through faith and our finances on the next Get Wealthy, right here, only on Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, yo, Peace World, what's going on? It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
Hey, I'm Cupid, the maker of the Cupid Shuffle and the Wham Dance.
What's going on? This is Tobias Trevelyan. And if you're ready, you are listening to and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, we've been covering the case of Crystal Mason. This black woman in Texas, her life has been upended because of stupid, idiotic Republicans. You might remember, she voted in an election. She served time in prison. She gets out of prison. She votes, okay? Or she tries to vote. Now, she didn't realize that she wasn't able to vote. They go to court. They rule that, her parole folks said, yes, she was not made aware. Well, what happened? They actually sent her to prison. Folks, the state has been going after her. Then she was returned back to federal prison and then got back out. Her life has been a living hell. And Fort Worth, the Republican district attorney in that county, continues to go after this woman years after the fact. Tomorrow, her case goes before the appellate court. Her attorney is Kim Cole. She joins us right now. So, Kim, how long has this been going on?
Roland, Crystal voted in the 2016 election.
It is 7 years ago.
Yeah. She was arrested in March of 2017 and charged with illegally voting. And we've been fighting for justice ever since. She was convicted in March of 2018, and we filed for a new trial. We were denied. I kind of feel like the widow in in Mark chapter 18. We filed for a new trial with the 432nd Court there in Tarrant County. We were denied. Then we appealed to the Second Court of Appeals in 2019. They denied our appeal and upheld Crystal's conviction. So in 2020, we appealed to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, which is the highest criminal court in the state of Texas. And in 2020, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals finally rendered a decision and reversed the Second Court of Appeals ruling and remanded it back to them for a different decision.
Okay, and for people who didn't follow this here, her parole folks said on the witness stand, she was never told or instructed that she couldn't vote. They still didn't care.
That's true. That's true. And that was actually their witness. That wasn't even a witness that Crystal called. That was actually the state's witness. And he is a supervisor over the district for all of the supervised release officers in the district, in the region, actually. And he testified on the stand that the Federal Bureau of Prisons doesn't even have a program or process in place to advise as to the status of voting eligibility. So Crystal did not know, which is why the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals sent this case back to the Second Court of Appeals, because in their decision where they upheld Crystal's conviction, they said, it didn't matter if she knew or not. That's not what Texas law says. Texas law specifically states that a person commits the offense if a person knowingly votes in an election for which he or she is not eligible.
And she didn't know.
He had no clue. And they didn't prove that she knew. That's their burden to prove, because Crystal is presumed innocent until proven guilty. And it's their burden to prove every element of a crime. They were supposed to prove that Crystal knew that she was not eligible to vote and voted anyway. And that's not what happened here, which is why the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals sent the case back down to the Second Court of Appeals, because they didn't even evaluate that fact, that element in their decision. They said it didn't matter whether she knew or not. And that's not what Texas law requires to be guilty of this offense. So we are back at the Second Court of Appeals again, and we are again seeking justice for Crystal.
And again, this is real simple. They could just drop the case. It's been set. They literally are expending significant resources to continue to pursue a case because one woman cast a ballot in 2016.
Cast a provisional ballot.
Which didn't even count.
Yeah, didn't even count as a vote. And Tarrant County isn't just doubling down on that. I mean, they're not just expending taxpayer dollars on Crystal's case. They have doubled down, and they have established an election integrity task force.
Absolutely crazy. Shirley, keep us abreast of what happens when this goes before the appellate court. What time tomorrow?
1:30 tomorrow. Hopefully, the Second Court of Appeals will apply the correct standard this time and will overturn Crystal's unlawful conviction. That's our prayer for the court. And hopefully they will apply the correct standard, because if they do, Crystal's not guilty.
It's absolutely crazy. Kim Cole, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Keep fighting a good fight. Folks, today in Florida was the first day of jury selection in the trial of former Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum and Sharon Letman Hicks on public corruption charges. Gillum, who was the 2018 Democratic nominee for Florida governor, who lost by 34,000 votes, and Letman Hicks, his longtime mentor and owner of PNP Communications, are both charged with legally soliciting campaign donations and pocketing them in their accounts. Gillum also is charged with lying to the FBI about gifts to undercover FBI agents they gave him during a 2016 trip to New York City. Gillum faces up to 20 years on each of his 17 counts of wire fraud and up to 5 years for giving false statements to FBI agents. Folks, a Black Texas couple says state authorities removed their daughter from their care because they chose a home birth over a hospital. Tamesia and Rodney Jackson's home birth was with a licensed midwife. Their daughter, Mila, was born with jaundice. Although her pediatrician recommended phototherapy in a hospital, the Jacksons opted for home treatment with the midwife's assistance. Concerned about the treatment's appropriateness, the pediatrician reported the couple to Child Protective Services, who seized the baby. The couple says they have tried everything to get their child back.
We went to state representative office, calling who we can call, trying to get in touch with press, just trying to make as much noise as possible to get our daughter back.
All right, folks, we have an issue with the audio there. The Jacksons have been allowed to visit their daughter. They have a court hearing on Thursday. Advocates for the couple and their midwives say this is an example of the over-policing of Black families by child welfare agencies and law enforcement and the inherent biases in Americans' healthcare system. Black children comprise a disproportionate number of children in foster care, and Black families are more vulnerable to false allegations and investigations of abuse or neglect as a result. And this is also the folks in the red state. Again, for the Simple Simons out there, Omakongo, who say, oh my goodness, oh yeah, you speak for the Democrats. This is Republicans in Texas who are doing this to this Black couple, for all the Simple Simons who are keeping record.
talked about before the break. I mean, the lengthy statement that you gave about every reason that we have to not vote for Republicans. How much more do you need? What's tragic is that every story that we've talked about hits at a Black family being targeted or disrespected or separated in some way, shape, or form at different ages. We just talked about a 65-year-old. We just talked about Crystal Mason. And now we're talking about a situation with a newborn child looking at this story and reading it, it's like, damn, Roland, it's like they just kidnapped this child. At this developmental stage of a newborn to be separated from the family with a legal midwife. And to be quite honest, Roland, nowadays with everything going on, I feel like we got to be looking into the backgrounds of these pediatricians. Who are they serving? What are they involved in terms of social media? Because we have seen that when it comes to the police, when it comes to the military, when it comes to so many different areas, we got people who are entering these fields with a targeted mission of destroying Black families. And so that's kind of where I'm at nowadays. But when I look at this particular family, this young family, just like with Ralph, people who are doing everything right, and still the government gets involved in policing Black bodies and hurting Black communities at every stage of our age. And this absolutely comes down to the people we are putting in office.
Niambi and Julian got 30 seconds each. Go. Niambi, you're first.
Look, I think this is a really hard case. I do think there was at least some legitimate concern about the child's bilirubin levels with this jaundice, which can lead to permanent damage to the child. But taking this child away, the family not knowing where this child is, putting this child in foster care serves no one. It certainly doesn't serve the medical interests of this child. And I think this is, again, an overreach of the state, in part because this is a Black family who were saying they're mistrustful of the medical establishment in particular kinds of ways. And if we can't have compassion and understand why that happens and where that comes from, we'll continue to see things like this happen over and over again.
Julian?
Makes me want to cry, Roland. I mean, really, the first months, that's when the child bonds with the mother. The breastfeeding gets the child closer to the mother. It's organic. And so they've taken that away from this woman. They've taken the ability for her to bond with her child away from her. I hope that family sues the mess out of these folks, because our Child Protective Services theoretically serves a purpose. Their purpose is to decimate a Black family.
Gotcha.
This
All right, folks, got to go to break. We come back. We'll tell you about a case in Texas where a teacher is under investigation. Really? Black kids playing a slave? Crazy. And also, white woman in the grocery store calls a Black woman the N-word. Not a smart move. We have that next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is RolandSMartin.com.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. It's spring, hallelujah. But hold on, it's not all fun and games. With the sun and the warmth comes the need to clean, the clutter, mentally, physically, emotionally, socially. All of those things need to happen. Getting rid of the clutter and clearing the cobwebs in our head and in our home. That's next on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
Hi, this is Cheryl Lee Ralph.
Hello, everyone. It's Kiara Sheard.
Hey, I'm Taj.
I'm Coco.
And I'm Lily. And we're SWV.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, the school district Cypress Fair Banks outside of Houston, they're investigating one of their teachers who actually asked a student to portray a slave in class. Took place at Kayla Middle School. The student, the only black child in the class, says she was singled out during a lesson about slavery. The mother says the same teacher made inappropriate comments about the Confederate flag a week prior. Joining us from Houston are the student's mother, Tori Ards, and her attorney, Allie Booker. Tori and Allie, glad to have you here. So Tori, walk us through what was the assignment, and they literally asked your daughter to portray a slave?
She wasn't asked to portray a slave. The teacher walked up to her and used her as an example of a fugitive slave.
That was her best shot, and so this happens in the class, and your daughter's response when that happens?
She immediately asked to be excused because she felt uncomfortable.
Allie, how has the district responded?
During an investigation, during this investigation, I don't think it's enough, though.
And so, first of all, how long has the investigation been going on?
Well, it's only been going on for about a week or so.
And so they say they're investigating. Has a teacher admitted it?
They won't let us know anything while that investigation is pending, and there's very little that we will be able to find out, unfortunately, absent litigation after that investigation closes.
So the curious story, tell us about this Confederate flag issue.
That was the first incident where the lesson was supposed to center around America pre-Civil War, and the teacher shared the information with the class that the Confederate flag was about states' rights, and it was perfectly fine to have love for it and pride in it, and that basically people who look like myself and my child should just get over it.
Wow. That took place when?
That happened on Thursday, the week before Easter.
So, Allie, so now you have two incidents with this teacher, and so is the district investigating both of them?
Yes, they are. They absolutely are. But I must say, coming from this area myself, the Confederate flag in this particular area is a huge bone of contention. I will say that. And I will say that I graduated from this school district in 2001, and it was a huge issue then. This area is known to hail Confederate flags. It is known to be a problem in this community, as well as particularly in this district.
Tori and Allie, first of all, Tori, sorry that your daughter had to deal with this here. Certainly keep us abreast of what happens with this investigation. To me, it's not that hard one to actually do. Either the teacher actually did it or not. Last question, any parents of other students, have they actually complained and stood with you with regards to what has happened in this classroom?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Several other students, and as you stated, my child was the only Black student present, but the other kids' parents have been complaining, and she's been receiving a lot of support from her peers. So yeah, she has support.
All right then. We certainly appreciate you, both of you joining us on the show to explain this case, and we look forward to seeing what happens next.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, folks, I have said numerous times on this show to white folks, listen, it ain't never wise to sit here and use the N-word at somebody Black. I'm just saying. This video we're about to show you. So here's what happened. So this woman, they're in a grocery store, and she calls sister the N-word, and then basically says, "Bring it on." And the sister did. Ain't go over well. Watch this.
What? Bitch. No, bitch, who the fuck is... Girl, I slapped the fuck out of you. You shut up, bitch. What you want to do? What you want to do? That's exactly what I thought, bitch. You'll get the fuck beat out of you, bitch. Bitch, fuck you. Oh, I'm about to beat her ass. She called us a nigger. She called us a nigger and fake with. For real? Yeah, she did. Bitch, don't call me like that. She did. She did. I don't want to hear. She did. She called us a nigger. I don't care. She definitely called us a nigger. She definitely did. She definitely did. That's disrespectful. To me and your kind, you can call me what you want, but you don't call me no nigger. You don't call me no nigger. You don't call me no nigger. You can call me what you want to call me, but you don't call me no nigger. I don't give a fuck. Especially coming from your kind. You don't call nobody no nigger. Bitch. Sorry. Bitch. No, you're not sorry, bitch. Bitch, say nigger again. Say nigger again. Say it again, bitch. Say it again. Say it again, bitch. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Who's the nigger now? Who's the nigger now? Bitch.
Okay, allow me to properly dissect this video. So cue up the first video, okay? Now, first of all, here's the whole deal. If you in the store and you talking trash, what you don't say is bring it unless you have the capacity to actually bring it. Press play.
I slapped the fuck out of you. You shut up, bitch.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Okay, so she said, bring it. She had some other choice words. Then she later used the N-word in referencing the sisters. Now, Julian Niambe Omakongo, I'm just saying, if you're going to talk trash to two black people, two black women in the store, you might not want to have your back to the door when they actually come out. I mean, I'm just saying, that's one of the first rules of not getting your ass whooped. You don't. What did West Indian Archie tell Malcolm X? Never sit with your back to the door so you can see them coming.
There you go. What? Roland, I'm sorry. I had to bring my assistant in here to watch that video because we were cracking up. About 10 years ago, it would have been me whipping her behind. I had to stop fighting because I got old. But
But see, Julian. Here's the funniest part. Get the video ready. So when they roll outside and they snatch that hair, I don't know about you, Omakongo, but did you see the reaction of the brother? First of all, he goes, "She calls the N-word." She did. And then y'all gonna watch the video. You're gonna see her trying to hide behind him. And at one point, he pulls away like, "Hey, my name's Jamal, this y'all. Roll it."
She did. She did. I don't want to hear. She did. She
Go to the beginning. I need you to go back when they walked out. Cause y'all gotta hear him say,
"Bitch, fuck
she
you."
did.
Oh, I'm about to beat her ass.
Here you go.
She called us a nigger. She called us a nigger and fake with. For real? Yeah, she did. Bitch, don't call me like that. She did. She did. I don't want to hear. She did. She called us a nigger. I don't care. She definitely called us a nigger. She definitely did. She definitely did. That's disrespectful. To me and your kind, you can call me what you want, but you don't call me no nigger. You don't call me no nigger. You don't call me no nigger.
Okay, stop. All right. First of all, he goes, "For real?" I swore on Congo, I heard him say, "I'm a police officer." And then he tells her, "Let me go." Like, I don't want no part of this ass whooping.
Mm-hmm. He moved completely away from all of that. I mean, she tried to stand behind him, and she was basically choking him with the jacket, trying to stay behind him and whatnot. And he was still doing everything. He didn't want any smoke from them ladies. And we talk all day about not condoning violence, but the woman invited it. And like many people nowadays who feel so emboldened, we got to understand it's a different group of folks nowadays who are just angry, and are not going to tolerate. And she really thought this black man was going to have her back. and she got a rude awakening on many levels, man. And my biggest concern, quite honestly, is whether she's going to file a police report for something she created.
All I know, when I saw his actions, all I can hear is him. I can hear Terrence Howard say, man, I ain't got nothing to do with this dog. I ain't got nothing. Niambe, that's all he was like in the video. He like, hey, get the hell off of me.
Hey, listen.
I ain't in this. Y'all, look, I was waiting for him to say, look, I don't even know this chick. I don't even know. She just came out here. My man was trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. Niambe, real quick, 20 seconds, go.
Well, she messed around and she found out. I mean, this is a classic game of play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And she thought that girl wouldn't call her bluff, and that woman did this day. I bet you she won't do it again.
Y'all, I'm just trying to tell y'all, Bring It was the name of a movie. Don't use that in real life if you ain't ready to back that thing up. But I keep warning y'all, how many times have I said, you call the wrong person the N-word, it's gonna be a different reaction. And now you've been featured on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So, hey, sorry, you brought it on your damn self. But I bet you remember that now, especially if you got to put them hair pieces back in your place, because they snatched the hair out her head, and it came out smooth. Them sisters were not playing. Julian, we appreciate Niambe Omokongo. Thank you so very much, folks. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Again, do not call somebody black the N-word, please. I'm just saying. This has been a public service announcement from Uncle Roro. Folks, be sure to download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Check in money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Shout out to Philip Williams, also Dorla Smith, Eon David, Albert Williams, Dominique Holmes, for all giving during the show. Sherlyn Carrington, James Fennell, Colin Keene, Brandon Long, Dwight Council. Thank you so very much as well. Kelvin Dukes, thanks a lot. Also, Mariama Boney, thanks a bunch. And be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Plus, you can download it on Audible as well. Again, folks, thank you so very much. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
I I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.